The final bit comes in with what's called a settlement report. Now, Amazon creates a settlement report that essentially says, here's all the stuff for this pay period that happened, every little line item. And Amazon has over 100 different codes about here's a different kind of income or here's a different kind of expense. And all of that has to be mapped into the system. And we can talk about that at a later time. These are all the little nuanced things, coupon codes clicked or clipped is the Amazon word that you have to pay for, or, clawbacks for something or some damage or some return or some this, like every single line item, you really want to know how that settlement looks down to the individual transaction. And in my philosophy, I believe in having a job cost or a profit report on each individual order that is the truest thing it can be, not just a guess, right? Averages and guesses leave what I think of as leakage. It's like, operating a ship at sea, but you got a bunch of holes in the bottom of your ship. You just don't know where they all are. And by settlements, you keep a tight ship, right? Finally, when you reconcile your bank, right, where you're getting all the deposits in from Amazon or whomever, then you want to make sure all of that stuff is going in and you reconcile your bank accounts once a month. We have applied integration of Parsimony that allows us to bring those things in, but you could do it manually if you prefer or wish. In some cases, we will have companies with high transactions that we're pulling in daily bank transactions. So we settle to the day so that when we look at our dashboards, it's as up to date as it can be at all times, right? Doesn't mean it's perfect at all times because there's some delays, even if it's 24 hours on this transaction or that type, this wire or that thing. But the point is, in general, you have a very comprehensive view of your system when you look at your dashboards. So finally, once you've added in payment receipts, this is where you're starting to get into the invoice reconciliation. Like every sales order that came in, you want to make sure you have a line item for that sales order and the amount of money you got for it that is absolutely accurate based on what it should be. And then you start asking questions about adjustments or exceptions to that. So, FBA has some predictable fees that apply on a per order basis. All of these, assuming that they are coming in as predicted, there's no reason to argue about that. But where you see adjustments that are abnormal, then you look at the settlement report and you kind of dive in and you go, hey, wait a minute. I didn't expect to have this, storage fee, or I didn't expect to have this thing. And you investigate it and determine, heck, is this reasonable? Is this fair or isn't it? So as you, again, contemplate the process flow, you have to think about these things because this is where the rubber hits the road. Getting an order and figuring out how much actual net cash you have to spend. This would be contribution cash, right? You have this cash now to, pay your people. You have this cash now to pay your overhead, buy new inventory, etc. And having that number down to the real number, I cannot stress how important that is. So just carrying this to the next iteration, we've talked about it in the Amazon context. Well, listen, the same thing happens with Shopify. You can go through ShipStation if you wish, or Parsimony has direct Shopify integrations. And that, whichever makes sense for you, it doesn't really matter because it's going to manage the process and the details the exact same way because the process is agnostic. You can be a multi-channel seller, right? And we'll talk about other channels here in a second. But whatever channel you sell at, you want the process of finance reconciliation or order fulfillment or warehouse management or whatever it is to be the same regardless, to the greatest extent possible to be the same or similar with the least amount of variation possible. Once ShipStation makes a shipment for Shopify, assuming you use ShipStation, detail is recorded, including the pick tickets and delivery notes and so forth.